Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ushanka Show Live, celebrating 92,000 subscribers. And I would like right away to apologize. I was planning to do live early, and I was planning to make an announce about it, but unfortunately, or fortunately, we had a grandson that was delivered to us earlier today, unexpected babysitting. So I was like wondering when I finally can actually find time to do live today on Sunday because we keep on going and it slowed down quite a bit, but we still. Hello, Dylan. How are you? We still getting more and more subscribers. Right now, we are at, let's see, as we're looking at 92,158. So it's like definitely I need to do it today on Sunday. It's probably not too late for guys from Europe. But once again, I apologize. I was planning to do early. I was planning to do announcement, but when we got our grandson, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. But my stepdaughter Carly just stopped by half an hour ago, took her kid. So I'm here with you. So make sure the sound is good. I think I had a bad contact with my microphone. I messed with it a little bit, so it should be better today. Last time people complained. So if you have any questions, any comments, please post in the sections. You know what to do. So I think we should be all good. Really, right now, latest news, of course, as I predicted, Prigozhin ended his journey in life quite soon after his coup or whatever it was happened, but it just kind of tells you and that what kind of level of the Russian Federation right now. It's like a gangster country, right? So usually, if someone breaks the law, if the person gets arrested, bring him indictment, all that good stuff. Then you got court and all that scoop. Here, you just blew up the plane, and problem is solved. So this is like a mafia state. So Russian Federation became pretty much a failed state when government deals with people they don't like, pretty much gangster way, just put the bomb in the plane, poison someone. So I mean, it was going on from the early 2000s when Putin started cleaning up, uh, getting rid of all the journalists that want to listen to him. So, all right, see what we got. Some people joining. We got 29 people. Thank you for joining. Hello, Michelle. Thank you. Yeah, kid, we had a good time. He is a lot of fun. But when I, play with my grandson, I'm thinking about my childhood, and I feel bad for my grandparents because, you know, we had the kid from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. We were quite tired, because he is active. And it's like my grandparents had me for 3 months. So my mom will drop me off in the village. Although my grandparents already were retired, but still they had cows to take care of, pigs to take care of, chickens to take care of, garden to take care of, and there's a grandson. And I spent there 3 months all summer long, so I have no idea how they managed to handle me. Although I think I was a pretty easy kid, and I think I mentioned a while back my grandmother. So she was born in 1907, so I was born in 1971. So she was 64 when, so she was 65 when she retired. I think the women retired at 60 and men retired at 65. And she didn't have diapers, right? So she just cut the hole in my pants that I wore. So she didn't want to wash my pants all the time. So I would go number two right through the hole in number one. So all my kids' pants, when I was 1, 2 year old, just had a hole in the bottom because she just didn't have time because of course there's no running water. Everything needs to be done by hand. You have to heat the water and stuff like that. So anyways, that's like a little detour. Okay, so yeah, I was not surprised. It was just a pretty much kind of more which way they're gonna kill him. A lot of people thought it'll be Novichok poison, but apparently, what looks like that they installed the bomb on the jet, because right before taking off, they had to take it for little repairs. Installed the bomb, blew it up, and Prigozhin is done. Um, there's a question: were there any Western old timers in the Soviet Union? I never met any foreigners in the Soviet Union. Only towards the end, I saw some tourists in Kiev, downtown Kiev, and I just remember it was really bizarre to see these old ladies, and they're all energetic. They have this silly hats with a bunch of badges on it. They just didn't look like our grandparents, because my grandparents in their early 70s, they look like Americans in their late 90s. They could barely move. Just totally different kind of situation. And then I met also in 1986 when I had to go to Leningrad when Chernobyl exploded. My parents sent me to Leningrad in June, and I stayed there for a month. And when we visited Petergov, like this summer palace for the Russian Tsars, there was a group of American tourists. And at that time, I already was interested in English language, so I kind of came close trying to listen and decipher what they're talking about, and I couldn't understand anything. And then the lady, the translator, noticed me, and she's like, "Are you trying to understand them?" I'm like, yeah. She's like, "No, they're from Texas. Don't worry about it. There is no way you can understand how they talk." So otherwise, yeah, we had no Western people living full time except runaway spies. But of course, I never met anyone. Yes, it's my first grandson. I have two stepkids and two my own. My youngest is 17. My daughter, she gonna be 23 this fall. It's kind of easy to remember. She was born in 2000. Then I have a stepson. He's in his early 30s. No family, no kids. And my stepdaughter, she's like 26 and she had a kid. So yeah, that's kind of what being a grandfather. It's a little bit weird. Mentally, I'm not there, but it is what it is. Okay. Yeah, window throw when it gets too predictable. I think Prigozhin knew better than go anywhere high, but somehow he got convinced that he needs to keep on flying around and doing his business, whatever. And you need to know Putin. Putin doesn't forgive stuff like that. I think he had an interview and he said, "I'll forgive anything but betrayal," and that's what it was, pretty much betrayal. So yes. No person, no problem. Typical for Moscow. Yeah, as I said, it's a failed, pretty much gangster style state now, when people just being killed, thrown out of the windows. I mean, the whole thing about people jumping off the tall buildings, windows. It's even in India, there was two Russian businessmen jumped out of the windows. So that's like the most popular way of dealing with the problem. So it's sad, but it's kind of logical. Unfortunately, a lot of people in Russian Federation were totally cool with Putin. I mean, me myself in the early 2000, I was actually happy that Putin became a president because Yeltsin was such an embarrassment. Being constantly drunk, doing just stupid crap, you know, in public. And I was just like, man, this is so embarrassing. And, in my mentality, I was still Soviet. And, Russia was kind of like big chunk of that Soviet glory. So, yeah, I was happy myself that Putin kind of like, okay, there's the guy who went after oligarchs. Maybe he will, make country better, makes people's life better, but he cared less about people. Okay. Oh, we got some people. Is it from Odessa, Ukraine? Sergey Radchenko. Hello. Yeah, we're getting close. It will be, as I said, right now the 1.7, 1,700 subscribers per month. That's right now how many we had per month. So we need it'll be a while. If we do it before 2024 comes in, I'll be surprised. But were there accents you could understand better than others? Well, if you're talking about America, I mean, I'm in the Midwest, so I generally didn't have a problem here in the United States, where I live, to understand. I happened to go and work for 1 month in Louisiana, and I was concerned that local people will be hard to understand, but I had no issues. So, all right, we got first donation from Couch. I have no questions. Just want to say hello. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for supporting my work. And actually, I need to make a video about accents in the Soviet Union, like Russian language, because we actually had also accents that you can determine pretty easy where the person is, because when I spent 1 month in St. Petersburg, in Leningrad at that time, in Russia, when I came back, people told me like, you speaking funny, and they said I make my ah louder. So for example, you say malako instead of malako, although it's oh, it should be moloko if you say properly, but no one says moloko. Everyone says malako, and they say malako. And Muscovites are famous for really making ah. That's always was a joke. Девчонки, 2 копеек не найдется. It's literally like копейка instead of копейка, копейка. So that's a Moscow kind of accent. Then in the Volga region, they do O, heavy O, so they'll say moloko instead of malako. Now, Ukraine and like a Krasnodar region, where there's a lot of former Ukrainians, they used to be Ukrainians, then they lost. They have so-called Southern Russian accent, and that's instead of что, we say sho. Our letter G, G is softer, H, almost like H. It's one of the reasons why you see Golodomor with G, it's a Russian way, and with H, it's Ukrainian way. And I was confused for a while because holod in Russian means it's cold, and golod means hunger. So when I read Holodomor, I was like, what is that new thing about people dying from being cold? I got a comment from Jim. Congratulations on your achievement, Sergey. I have a friend who was born in East Berlin. When a wall came down, some of his family friends were revealed to be Stasi agents. Did anything similar happen for you? Well, I never was KGB agent, but no, KGB archives were still closed for a long time, even in Ukraine. So who knows? And they maybe just destroyed the files before they made them declassified. Which reminds me, like in my village in northern Ukraine, uh, there was a famous movie maker from Kiev. He learned about the village from my Flickr. I used to have a Flickr account where I was posting photos, and he saw my photos and actually sent me a message, say, hey, where's this village? So he went and he found the place. He bought a building. I couldn't say a house. It was a former, before revolution, it was a hospital. Local landlord. We had apparently some nice landlords. By the way, guys, don't forget, if you just joined me, don't forget to like the stream. Maybe it'll help to be more noticed. And once again, I apologize for this improvised live. I was babysitting grandkid today unexpectedly. So when they were remodeling, so it was a hospital before revolution, then it was a collective farm office. So he said that when they were remodeling in the attic, they found boxes with files, and a lot of files were donos. Don't know what. So if someone writes report on your neighbor, in Russian language it's donos. So he's like, hey, I saw neighbor doing this, or he was I saw him carrying a sack of grain from collective farm. So they found like boxes and boxes, and that was letters of this donosy, like citizen reports. And so that was processed. It's just interesting. So he was all excited to study this stuff, but then he had to go to Kiev on business. When he came back, he discovered that the locals that were remodeling, they quietly took those boxes and burned it all. They didn't want anyone know, they didn't want to kind of bring the dirty laundry, as they say in America. So yeah. Okay, so back to your questions. Do you still have family in Ukraine? Yes, I have. My mother actually lives in that village that I was talking about in northern Ukraine. Everyone is fine. I actually just sent them a parcel. My mom, I needed some medicines, and she likes peanut butter. That's kind of interesting. So I sent her 2 jars of peanut butter, some medicines, and she wanted to my new book because my American Diary is 1996, which is behind me right there. I also have it in Russian. I wrote it in Russian, translated to English, so she wanted to read my second book, so I mailed her the book. So yeah, they're doing okay. I just talked to my brother, so everyone's fine. Drunk Yeltsin dancing is a funny video. Well, if you're foreigner, yeah, for you it's a funny video. For many Russians, they were super embarrassed because in their mental kind of thing, like we're a superpower, and this drunk guy doing just stupid crap. It was embarrassing. So yeah, but it's kind of like we have this concept that you can spy. I don't know how to translate. So you can find a normal Russian guy, and you get become buddy with him and make him drink. And usually, they say Russian can't say no to vodka, and you basically make him worse and worse, kind of exuberate his drinking problems. So sometimes people can do it on purpose. And like I believe there's possibility that they knew that Yeltsin, as a lot of Russians, has a weak spot for vodka. They were working him. It's basically they were preparing ground for Putin takeover because they wanted someone now, that doesn't embarrass the great Russia, and that's worked out just fine because, you know, you think about it, president of Russia didn't travel by himself, so the fact that he was constantly drunk, arriving somewhere, there were people allowing him to do it or even help him out. So okay, another question from Big Zaza. Congrats on the 92,000. Thank you. On Twitter, I saw on the internet a debate about Brezhnev if he was Russian or Ukrainian. Is this a common debate in ex-USSR? Yeah, it's actually, well, it's more on the Russian side because, they're trying to explain why Soviet Union failed and like, oh, he was Ukrainian. So, of course, he would make Soviet Union collapse. But if you think about it, there's hardly anyone like real full-time Russian was in power. They claim Khrushchev is Ukrainian. Of course, Stalin is Georgian, right? Or even they're saying he was from Ossetia, Ossetin, his father. They're saying, Lenin was a quarter Jewish, not real Russian. Who else we had? I think Andropov was like the only one like was real Russian, but if you start digging, probably they'll find some Jewish roots too. So it was a common thing. Khrushchev gave Ukraine Crimea because Khrushchev was Ukrainian. But I'm surprised because Brezhnev, a lot of people consider that Brezhnev was one of the best leaders because life was good under Brezhnev. So, but yeah, they found his documents, and some of them it says he's Ukrainian, but when he got his passport, they changed it that he was Russian. I'm not sure about details, but I always say, well, if you, I'm so sorry that you couldn't find enough smart Russians to run a country, so I guess Ukrainians have to pick up your slack, and of course they get all butthurt about it. So okay, what else we got? So the question about military surplus. We didn't really have military surplus stores. We used to have so-called Voyentorg, so it's like a military, uh, but I don't recall any like used uniforms or anything like that. It was just uh, even don't remember what they were selling. Well, we had those stores, but yeah, there was no like uniforms. They don't want random people just walk around in military fatigues. So yeah, nothing like that. No old BTRs. So okay, we got another donation from my longtime supporter Koala 1203. Привет, comrade Sergey. Just the time happened in Russia 4 days ago with assassination of Prigozhin. Well, I said it's not a main reason I'm doing live today, but I said I'm not surprised. I predicted that he doesn't have long to live. The in that country, the only way you can live longer is always go to the end. Like you always pick up the loose ends, like Stalin did. Look how long did it take him, but he even managed to get Trotsky in Mexico. So this is kind of how you deal with your enemies or your adversaries in that country. So yeah, okay, moving along. Are you going to write up a follow up to your book? So I have two books right now, right? 1995, 1996. They're available on my. Let me get one. See, I was in a hurry a little bit. All right, so this is 1996, which is available on my site, sputnikov.com. If you want paper copy, it's available on Amazon. And right now I'm working in 1997. So there'll be four books. My four times I came to America, 95, 96, 97, 98. And I started writing down a little bit. I want to write Born in the USSR book. So that will be pretty much Ushanka show in the book format, where I will go through the story of my grandparents, my parents, mine, and anything else I could think of. So that's kind of I make little side notes, but the main project right now, 97. Fortunately, I kept the diary, so I remember a lot because I can have reference. So I'm glad you like my books, and if you bought my book, please go on Amazon and place the feedback. I would like to see 200 feedbacks on 1995. He has like 189 right now. And my new book, 1996, has only 9 right now reviews, but I know I sold more than that. Okay, we got another donation in pounds. I love the channel. Thank you so much. Graham Marshall, appreciate it. So we got some people from Europe, by the way. I wonder who else is from Europe right now or any other cool countries. Viewership of Ushanka show, if you're curious, about 55% is United States. Then we got Canada. We got United Kingdom. Then like Europe. And 95% male, 5% female. So definitely not many ladies like my channel, so I don't know what to do about that, but it is what it is. Okay, next question. I wonder what will become of the suspect pilot. I don't know, but there's one thing, like there's a two pilots died along with Prigozhin, right? And other guys on the plane, the Wagner guys, like a second in command, Utkin. And that's a lot of people commented that the picture I posted is not actually Utkin's photo. He has a SS swastikas here and a big eagle, a Nazi swastika image here. But it's on the Putin, pro-Putin sites, this photo was forever. So I don't know any other pictures of Utkin. I see other ones of him way younger, but looks at some point he quit. He tried not to be in the photos. But has a star of the hero of the Russia. Prigozhin had a star hero of the Russian, and he just they made some other heroes of Russia not happy, so that's what happens. Let's see, moving along. But anyway, so if I would be a pilot and they say, hey, why don't you fly Prigozhin around? I'll be like, I'm retiring right now, because that he had already a death wish. That black mark given to him by Putin was just a question of time. So I would never agree to fly that guy, because we got more people join us here, almost 100 people already. So don't forget to like it. We got 90 people and 42 likes. Greetings and congrats. Let's see, I just got bumped up here. Looking for your next question. Hello, comrade from Kanukistan. Not sure what, some kind of reference to some humor. So the Nos is denunciation. So that's what people help me to. We got Belgrade. Serbia finally caught this live stream. Good for you. Thank you. I see you have Ayn Rand. I do. it took me forever to read the first one, the Atlas Shrugged. I like the book. It's not easy read. There's some parts I really liked, and some parts I just saw it was a basically capitalistic porn. There's some references like that I would compete with you on a fair, on even ground, but I would never want to compete with you, with the government help. Or like, yeah, please, really, you just you more than willing to compete and run someone out of business, but you will never take government help to do that. I found that's kind of really, at least naive. But there's a long speech about money by that Francisco something guy. That was a good speech. How you explain what money is, I found it really interesting. But that was disappointment when I read this whole, like, yeah, in a capitalist society we compete fairly. Like, yeah, if it's about putting food on the table, you will do anything and run people out of the business. The question: would your book in Russian language be okay for intermediate student of Russian? I'm not sure, honestly, because I was writing it kind of on this like a street language style. So I used a lot of what we used to talk like in '90s. So there's quite a bit of that slang. Not a lot, but there's some of it. And I know because when I was using Google Translate to speed up my work, just make a big copy paste sections of my book, do translate in Google, and then I'll just go through it and make it better. Google was confused a lot. I actually have like a separate file, all the Google goofs I call them, because translator just some of my expressions, it was just hilarious. But I mean, if you have my English and Russian, it would help, but they're also different. I had to, it's telling Russians or my Russian speaking audience about America is one thing, but telling Americans about my American experience, I had to go different route. I had to add more items, remove some items because I don't care. I don't think a lot of Americans want me to describe in detail Niagara Falls. It's so I would say probably not, but it's still a good story even if you miss a couple spots here and there. And I have quite a few people purchase both Russian and English version. Okay, next one about peanut butter in Sweden. Yeah, it's not cheap. I honestly, in the beginning, when I experienced peanut butter back in 1995, I thought it was nasty. Well, it was also the way the product looks like it's something unexpected from the baby came out, right? It's just this weird color, and it's on the table, and people were dipping. I can't think what it was. Those green sticks, and you put in the peanut butter. I tried that; it was gross. I like peanut butter crunchy, and I only like it on the peanut butter jelly. That's it. I don't like any chocolate with peanut butter. Nothing else peanut butter. It's only crunchy peanut butter as a peanut butter jelly. I'm good with that. Nothing else. Do any of you know if there was a war going on during Yeltsin? Well, first, Chechen war was going on during Yeltsin time. So that's a big one. That's when Russia lost. Yeltsin was promised that, hey, we can just march right to the capital of Chechnya and take over. And it probably sounds familiar how the military promised to Putin they're going to march into Kiev and take over in 3 days. The same movie, different characters, same movie. And it ended up bloodiest war, and Russia lost. They had to basically accept independence of Chechnya and sign this, they call it embarrassing Suigur agreements. And then before that, in 1992, there was the very first small war, that hybrid war, similar to what Russia did in the eastern Ukraine. They did exactly the same thing in Moldova. At that time, 1991, 1992, if you maybe remember history, Moldova, now it's called Moldova, before there was Moldavia, it was part of Romania. And then in 1940, Stalin forced Romania to give up Bessarab region, Bessarabia, and they created Moldovan automotive autonomous republic as a part of Ukraine, and then they made it a separate republic, but originally was part of Romania. So in 1991, when Moldova became independent like the other republics, there was actually consideration to reunite with Romania. And Russia, that's the first time, 1992, I mean, Russia still like, in big mess, but they started protecting Russian speaking people in Pridnestrovia region, and, local people created, guerrilla fighting force, and they were fighting Moldovans, and they made the state that still has their own money currency. No one, no, I don't think any country in the world, uh, what the word, like say, yeah, well, I agree, you are an independent country. So that thing sits there for all these years since 1992. So that's how many years? 30, like, see, 23, and then we got another, yeah, I mean, 30 some years almost, right? And this is how the Russia doesn't let other former Soviet republics to run away. So yeah, Moldova could never join Romania and European Union because they had territorial dispute, and that's what Russia created. And then Russia, like, hey, we're gonna leave our peace force there, and and so it's not a first rodeo for Russia to do that to the former republics. Then they did this to Georgia in 2008 with Abkhazia, and South Ossetia, same trick. Oh, these people don't want to be part of Georgia. We need to come and protect them. There's a Georgian Nazis. I mean, same language. If you look it up, 2007, 2008, Nazis were Georgian Nazis. Then there was a turn of Ukrainians to become Nazis. I mean, they played the same record all over again, and people buy that. So it's really upsetting. Oh, we got people from Wisconsin. They know how to say привет, hello. Okay, moving with your questions. People talking about California wine and argue that the South African wine is better. And sister from Colorado, who a long time ago sent me some salo, which I greatly appreciate. Hitler was Austrian. I think they started digging. They found there's some, Putin bloodline. They also have Jewish. It's pretty much, you start digging enough, you find the Jewish, some kind of grandmothers and grandparents in pretty much anybody who lived around here. There's again comment from Jim. Thank you so much for providing such an insight. Last question: what was the average Soviet citizen's thoughts on firearms, regardless of the laws regarding them? I can tell for every citizen. I can tell you personally, I never was like crying in my pillow that, oh my God, I wish I had a gun. It was never crossed my mind. And I actually had a video that I made about guns, but I said something at the beginning of the video, and I made a lot of people so angry that one dude actually went on Amazon and posted bad feedback on my book. That's how petty some people are. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to take that video down. Maybe I'll make it public to my members of my channel, but I'm gonna change it, redo it. But I don't think people really missed guns. It's, the whole society they created that it felt pretty safe. Like, I was a latchkey kid. My parents were to work. I would come from school at an age of 7, unlock my apartment, go inside, eat some food, do homework, and go play outside. So there'll be like maybe 10 kids outside, ages 7 and up, playing, no parents, no adult supervision. We didn't worry about it. Robberies were seldom. We never heard of any killings. Of course, any serial killers would be unheard of. That information was, if like Chikatilo, we didn't know about it. So this whole concept that some people tell me, like, yeah, if you had guns, then government won't do stuff to you, like they like. If somebody wants to see what Soviet government would do to their own people. I'll provide the link right now. The good read. It's about Tambov rebellion that occurred in 1920, 1922. It'll be a Wikipedia article. Of course, in Russian, it's more detail. But this concept that if everyone had a rifle, you could pretty much resist the tyrannical regime. It's a little bit, you need to know how far your government is willing to go. When in 1920, peasants in Tambov, had uprising. So once again, the government was taking their grain without paying. Peasants didn't like it, so they brought military. They used artillery, they used bombs, and they used chemical weapons on their own people. So they were bombing villages, they were using chemical warfare, and took them 2 years to put down. So, okay, you have a shotgun. Good luck fighting, 122 whatever millimeter cannons. So it's all about how much your government is willing to steamroll you. So this whole concept, yeah, if everyone had a gun, they could just put up a good resistance. They had guns, and they killed a lot of people. And on top of it, they were doing hostages. They get in the village, they grab 50 people, and it says we need everyone who was resisting Soviet government. You need to bring them over here, otherwise we'll shoot this 50 people and take next 50 people. And they were taking hostages, which is like terrorizing their own population. So, but like in 70s, 80s, like we felt pretty safe. uh, it was safe to be on the streets, at least in Kiev and other large cities in the village, same thing. So I saw a gun 3 times in my life in 20 years in the Soviet Union. Once, my neighbor in the village, he had a shotgun, hunting shotgun, and I remember just kind of looking at it. My friend, who was that dude's grandson, showed me. It was just like, wow. Then one of my schoolmates in school brought a TT pistol they found. We had war, kids digging, finding stuff. So he brought a pistol into school. No one reported of the kid. I don't know if it was loaded, probably not. But yeah, I remember we were in the bathroom. He like, hey, you want to check it out something cool? And then he pulled it out, like, whoa, so cool. And then in the 10th grade, when I was part of our military training, we shot AK-47. So that's pretty much my experience with guns. And now I have a Mosin Nagant rifle, which I bought as a historical item. I'm not like a gun person. Then I had to buy another one, this Nagant revolver. I never shot that at all. I just bought it. Is that for me? It's more like historical value, and it's just like every movie you see about Soviet Union or revolution had those guns. Thank you so much, Grammy, for your donation. Appreciate it. Great Britain, being generous here. So I'm planning to make more videos. It's not a problem, but it is a problem. If you make any content on YouTube about guns, monetization is not there. They're gonna cut down monetization. So that's why a lot of gun YouTube channels disappeared, because they quit making money. So, but yeah, as I said, I don't remember anyone like, oh my god, I can't wait to get hold on guns. And it felt safe. We didn't have anybody on at the doors in school watching people coming in and go. It was at the point like anybody could just walk into school. There'll be maybe lady like, what's your business? But now I think in Russia they allowed a little bit of guns, and they already started having mass shootings. So okay, so next question. You said you liked electronics before. What was the first computer you had? When was the first time you used a computer? Thank you. Okay. Well, for me, liking electronics, it's about high fives. It's music. That's the only kind of electronics that I had. I never had a computer in Soviet Union. Never dreamed about it. But it's but I had a pretty nice stereo. I had a LP player, had a nice cassette player, amplifier, big speakers, so I was all set back then. The very first time I used computer was in Moscow, and I was maybe 92 or 93. And we stayed with the family of Americans. So there was an American family that invited us, and he was a professor. I'm not sure if he was teaching local college. His wife was one of the managers of Chevron oil company, and he had a computer at that time that was a top of the line, best of the best. Uh, I think it was a compact brand. It was Pentium ready, so it was 486 Pentium ready, the most expensive, the best computer you can get your hands on. And that's the first time when I saw a computer, and they showed me how they send email to Detroit, and then Detroit replied, 10 minutes later. And I remember being my shock. So the very first computer I had was here in the United States in 2000, maybe one. It was a compact. So yeah, it's no history of computers back home. Although I'm planning to make videos because we had some computer classes in school, but it wasn't PC. There was, you have a monitor and a keyboard, and there was a big machine in the second room. Okay, moving along, see what else we got. There is a comment from another Sergey that today on with your donations already made money that this guy earned in the same day. So that's good. I mean, not good, but it is good. Well, it helps definitely. There's a comment from Blitzer Markoy. I also live in Michigan. It seems like a lot of people from Ukraine, Russia move here. Well, Detroit is historically a popular place for people from former Soviet Union. I mean, not as much as Chicago has a lot. I think Grand Rapids have some. Lansing has some. I don't know about General a lot, but not as much like people from Holland and other ones. Got another donation from Full Metal. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And the YouTube just told me that our British viewer Graham Marshall, it was his very first super chat. So congratulations and thank you so much. That was you did it for my channel. I greatly appreciated that. Okay, we got Germany here. Well, trying to think how to say good afternoon. Guten Tag, I think. Was life under Gorbachev better than now? Now in Russia, well, it was freedom. Gorbachev, that was the biggest part was that not perestroika failed, ускорение, which is like speeding up economy failed. The only thing that he really, let go is the glassness, openness and freedom of speech. So that was really exciting. Like from 86, I mean, Chernobyl, yeah, but it was finally interesting to read newspapers, to watch TV. It was just finally, it was exciting. That was really cool. Like movies there's so many cool movies. Suddenly there's like explosion of rock bands, Kino, Alisa, DDT. So that was just this, like, we lived in this small, tiny room, closed windows, you barely could breathe. And suddenly there's a, window opened and there's fresh air. That was that feeling during Gorbachev time. Then, of course, as the windows got more open, people started getting cold because a lot of people they get used to living in warm rooms. So, all right, we got James Varela. Well, by the way, I need to mention him. James was very kind to send me this book. I never heard of it. It's called Dancing Bears. It's by Polish writer, journalist Witold Szablowski. And he kind of does the research. He travels Eastern Europe and traveled Cuba and talked to local people. He was trying to discover why a lot of people still miss good old Soviet days. I don't think he went to like Ukraine or Russia. It's mostly Eastern Europe and Cuba. But there's a great comparison with this dancing bears that the gypsies were beating him up from child, little bears and training them to dance, and how the bears, even they let go them in the wild, every time they see a human, they start and back them and they start dancing because they're hoping to get a treat. And this is really like hardcore comparison. Like, yeah, this is I kind of see it that people forget about being beat up. They just remember those freebies that the government used to throw us. But his question is, have you seen uh, fiction movie Neba Zaviot? The Sky is Calling. You know what? I honestly don't remember. I doubt I watched it. It's old, 1959, so I don't think so. I need to find it, but I'll look it up. Thank you for your donation and your question. And I think I had somebody else did donation. Take my rubles, comrade. So another donation from N Prim. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, the celery, the stuff you dip into the peanut butter is celery. Is that was gross. We actually used wild celery to wash your hair. Apparently, it has some chemicals. So if you boiled celery in water, it gets the whatever is good for your hair. That's what I just remember. That smell, that celery has a specific smell. We never ate it, but I remember women using that for their hair. So like, why you eat this stuff? I always was kind of nasty. We got Ireland here, Scotland. So yeah, cool. We got a bunch of people from Europe. Another question from Bernie. When was the first time you had a cheeseburger after going abroad into US? Was it better than expected? Um, Definitely no cheeseburger back home. I think I tried McDonald's because they opened McDonald's and no, they opened already after I went. I think they opened like 97, 98. McDonald's in Russia and Moscow was open in I think 1989 maybe or 1990. In Ukraine, they started doing business in like 97. So I already went to America. I I really like French fries. I thought French fries were outstanding with ketchup, of course. Hamburgers, I really didn't care much until I discovered Burger King. When I work at the farm, uh, on the way to Amish people, if you read my book, American Diaries, you know about it. The farmer couldn't pay us hours to drive down to Indiana, unload peaches or apples, and drive back because he's didn't make enough money, but he would buy me or my buddy us dinner and a drive-through Burger King. And Burger King was at that time was a number three, a junior hamburger, fries and Sprite. And I really like I much like I like way better Burger King over McDonald's if it needs to have a lot of green stuff and sauce. So otherwise, I'm not like if we have cookout, I usually don't touch hamburgers. I go for hot dogs. That's another interesting thing about growing up in Soviet Union. We never had steaks because they didn't raise cattle for meat. They only had old cows, old milk cows. That the ones that get slaughtered. So of course that meat. I don't know if you ever tried old cow, but you may understand what I'm talking about. Like you have to boil that meat, and that's how we did broth for our borscht or soup. You boil old meat, so that we had no hamburgers and no steaks, just processed meat, so sausages or doktorskaya колбаса. And I prefer uh, processed meat over steak now. Like I have some people get butthurt at work because they'll make steaks, and I was like, I just take a hot dog. He's like, dude, I make a steak. I'm like, just have a hot dog. Textures. I like texture better, or lack of texture. So it's kind of sad, but it's another problem of growing up in Soviet Union. After chewing a little bit on the old cow meat, you just kind of like, I don't know about that steak. All right, so we had about 100 people now down to 92. See if we get 100 likes. They'll be awesome. I like that number. Oh, we got Sweden here. We got a socialist Sweden. The girls are watching makeup tutorials and TikTok Chinese propaganda. It's possible, I have a couple of cooking videos that my wife filmed for me, and it had 100% male viewers. I was like, okay, I give up. If the cooking video has 100% male viewership, I just, there's something going on here. So, yeah. I mean, we have some ladies watching and they kind of feel special because they're that 5%. Jordan Young, I love your show. I also live in Michigan. I teach history. Any chance I could get you into classroom to talk to kids about Soviet Union? Yeah, it's possibility. Just depending how far you live. I did already some presentation in the Ferris University a couple of years ago. That was a lot of fun. But if it's far away to drive, then I don't think schools have enough money to cover expenses. But if you can send me email, uh, Sergey Sputnikov at gmail.com. Maybe we can figure out something. Of course, I work, so we need to find some good time. But yeah, I'm open to do that. So far, we did only, I said, I did one college. Did anyone in your class criticize communism, or everyone was afraid to? Well, first of all, I need to make a video about that. No one knows how good or bad communism is. Communism is, because Soviet Union only achieved developed socialism. Communism is the next step after socialism. Under communist system, that's the theory. There'll be no government. It's just like rudimentary. You don't need anymore, and there'll be no money. There'll be so much of everything that you just go to the distribution center and you're like, I need a pair of boots, I need a car for 2 days, and I need a jacket. And you take it and then you return it car, for example. So it's a big theater. So really, you can't criticize communism because you don't know about it. But I don't recall any. When you're kids, you have different interests. So there was really no one anti-Soviet or anything like that. So, but the fun fact is that our teacher that taught us about all this, what is socialism, what is communism, why socialism is better than capitalism. When the Soviet Union collapsed, he was one of the first one to pack his bags and immigrate to Israel. So yeah, although people didn't criticize openly, they had different ideas. Okay, moving along. There's another explanation because my videos are full of USSR propaganda girls. Sometimes it's kind of fun to add something to, because I have people complaining that my voice put them to sleep. And by the way, I don't know if you guys use the function of changing speed on your videos, because I do speak slowly. It's my second language, and sometimes I just want to make sure I say words correctly. You can speed up the video to 1.5, 1.75, even double the speed, and then I'll be sounding really energetic telling my stories. But if you listen on my regular speed, some people actually saying I put them to sleep, and some people actually play my videos to fall asleep, which is kind of I have mixed feelings about that. Next question from Sister Sergey. Why were Soviet cartoons mostly about socialist economic policy? Well, not sure if. I mean, they will be teaching you how to share, how to be friends. Can't really think about socialist policy, but everything was under supervision of the government censura, censorship. So a lot of cartoons that you're required to provide some teachings to kids. You're supposed to provide some positive ideas. So I guess that'll be the reason. Just like the Soviet music bands, they're required specific percentage of their songs should be about socialism and all that stuff. So it could be not all of them, but definitely. I mean, "Ну погоди," when the wolf is chasing rabbit, I don't remember much about socialist policies there. So Kanukistan means Canada. I didn't know about that. There's a comment about India must be made in Russia. Yeah, Russia definitely was trying to. That was not nice to beat India to the moon. But it's another sad situation. Like I was always interested in space exploration. I read a lot of books. Followed. But like I was actually, I'm glad that the Russian moon mission failed. I was like, this is ridiculous, but this is where we are. What Putin created situation. Russians are killing Ukrainians, uh, and like I'm happy that the Russian moon mission failed because they tried. I don't know. It's just sad, sad. More people happy to see me live. That's good. All right, so I'm right now. I got to the salary part. Yeah, it's question. How common was putting dissidents in mental institution? Well, fortunately, I never got to the level of a dissident. That was pretty much, you know, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early part of the 80s. They quit using Article 58. I'm not sure if it got canceled or not because before during Stalin time it was Article 58, and they can arrest you, put you in a labor camp for pretty much anything. Uh, but later they became softer. So the KGB, NKVD was transformed to KGB, and they came up with this different system. So first they approach you and talk to you. So there was a so-called, I need to make a video about it, a prophylactическая беседа. So that's mean like prophylactic conversation. So it'll be two KGB agents, good cop, bad cop, and they'll get you and they'll talk to you, and pretty much they will try to scare you to death. Like, hey, if you won't shut up, if you won't stop saying stuff or doing stuff, you'll get in big trouble. We're here to help you, but just warning you. So that will be first step is to scare the person. But if it doesn't work and he continues, then they can go hardcore and pretty much have a doctors who will just claim, yeah, he's saying this stuff because he's crazy, mentally unstable, and they start putting you in heavy drugs and put you in a mental facility. So that was like a mild form of gulag. So instead of working people to death in Siberia or Kolyma, they'll put people into mental facility. We got a donation from Twilight City Studios, $10. Thank you so much, Twilight. Would be cool to see you do a video of Ukrainian village in Chicago. I would be happy to help out. Ukrainian Museum in Chicago also be a good place to do a Q&A. Got videos of the place on YouTube. Okay, I'll check it out. I was there once with my wife. We ate in a Trizub restaurant. Maybe this fall. Right now it's just too hot to go to Chicago, but maybe like in October, if I have a time, um, we'll try to do something like that. It's a good idea. Thank you so much and appreciate your donation. I know if you're aware, Chicago is kind of interesting city. Chicago has so the most amount of Polish people in the world in the city, any city, is Warsaw. On the second place is Chicago. And it's also similar. There's a lot of Ukrainians in Chicago. There's a called Ukrainian Village, and they got stores, Ukrainian restaurants. So yeah, it's a interesting international city. All right, so we're getting close to 1 hour, and I hope we can get to 100 likes. So if you guys can help me out, that'll be great. Most Europeans dislike root beer. I'm with you. I hate root beer. I tried it once, and it tastes like medicine. I don't drink pop much at all, but I prefer green pop like Sprite or Sierra Mist. Although I used to like Pepsi when I lived in Soviet Union. And Koala in donation on the question, how many American Diaries are you planning to publish? Well, American Diaries is pretty much diaries of coming to America on exchange program, so before. 95, 96, 97, 98. Then if I make it big book, Born in the USSR, that's kind of the title. I'm not sure if there's any interest about actually story how I, stayed in America, got married, and all my other adventures here. Uh, there's a lot of stories about me being in the moving business. I worked in the moving for about 12 years, met a lot of interesting people. I got introduced into black porn. I had some crazy people. I've been in the multi-million dollar homes in Lake Michigan. I was moving people in Benton Harbor, scary ghettos. I worked in the trailer parks that I wanted. There was one trailer park. I moved this lady from Buchanan, Michigan, down Indiana, and that was the most depressing trailer park I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of trailer parks. I literally got so depressed. I was depressed and scared because when I saw the trailer that was moving lady in, and she was like a cheerleader instructor, I was like, oh my God, I'm so screwed. She doesn't have any money. Like drove for about 2 hours, load her up, drove down to Indiana, unloaded. It's like she's moving in this trailer, sagging ceilings, just nasty 70s, just piece of crap trailer. I was like, I'm so screwed because I usually was taking payments after unloading, but she paid cash, and it was good. But that was the most depressing trailer park I ever witnessed in this neighborhood, in this area, and we got some pretty rough ones around here. So yeah, I can do, if there's a demand, I can do like a little podcast, my experiences of moving people in America. There was some good ones. Okay, I'll tell you. I had a extremely romantic move too. So we had this one phone call, and a real estate lady called. She's like, I need a couple of movers. So that time I had a couple guys from Bulgaria, the local students, and they worked for me in the moving. So I sent them to do the move, and they came back and they were like, eyes like, like in cartoons, the hearts, popping. And I'm like, what happened? They're like, dude, the hottest person we ever moved. Like, she's so hot. Like, just keep on repeating. It's like, yeah, whatever. And then she calls again and she's like, yeah, I had another moving job to do. So I was like, okay, I'm available. And so we started talking about place to meet, and she didn't have address. She's like, there's a store called Wild Orchid on the Blue Star Highway. Meet me there at 8 a.m. And I was like, what do you say the name of the store? She's like, the Wild Orchid. And I was like, is that an adult store? And she's like, oh my God, why people think it's an adult store? Like, I had several people asking me, why do you have adults? I was like, you don't know the movie The Wild Orchid with Mickey Rourke and this Brazilian hot chick? And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, you might want to look it up. This is a really like steamy movie. It's not porn, but it's really close. She's like, oh my God, I didn't know about it. So that was really funny. But then she called me and she sold the house, her own house, and she hired other moving company, and the guys quit at 5 p.m. and left, and there was still stuff in the house. So she begged me to come late at night, and she forgot that they already had power disconnected. So we had, as I said, the most romantic move that night. So she parked her Land Rover, shining lights in the front windows. And then, so she's really attractive, really pretty. My wife is not home yet. So she was setting up candles all over the floor in this building, this house. So I see this beautiful lady setting up candles and we're working. Oh my gosh, that was pretty cool. Anyway, it was a little kind of so. Another donation. Thank you so much for Twilight City. He mentioned if you're ever in Chicago, Trizub Ukrainian restaurant, and another one, Old Viv. Also, so yeah, I'll probably try to get there sometimes or end of September or October when the weather is mild, so we can enjoy it. So thank you so much. So yeah, I can probably do like a podcast because I don't have pictures. We didn't take photos doing moves, but I had some interesting moves. I said one time we also were moving some old guy, black guy in Benton Harbor, and his mini storage, and the dressers were too heavy. And if you dressers too heavy, you move the drawers out. I pulled the drawers out, and it was like packed with black porn magazines. I was like, "Ooh!" I've never seen big butts like that. That was, oh my gosh. But I was like, well, kudos to you, dude. You're like in your 70s, you're still interested in this stuff, and you have a drawers full of it. So that was hilarious. So yeah. And when we were moving one magazine by accident, uh, stayed in a truck because like I need to explore that side of America. I never explored black porn part, so that was hilarious. But it was a little bit too much. But it was good time. So yeah, I can do a little podcast on that part, but it's definitely nothing to do with life in the Soviet Union. But I learned a lot about American culture. Question: would you consider living in Chicago? Absolutely not. I never enjoyed living in Kiev. It just I like space. I like my own house. I don't like traffic. I had 20 years in Kiev, more than that. So, and it's just it was okay. And of course, in the Soviet Union, out in the country, you don't have running water, you don't have any conveniences, so you want to live in the city, in an apartment building. But man, I'm perfect right here. It's like out in the country, my own house. I have a garden, you know, a little bit of land. I can do a little fishing. I can ride the bikes, run around. So I don't want to get. I don't want big cities. It's nice to visit. I guess if you're a young single guy, there's more options there to meet ladies. But um, yeah, to live in a big city, no, no, thank you. Okay, see, we got a couple. The question: did you get laid? Well, not with that lady. No, that's strictly business. Just moving. She was married too, and that was another shocker. So during this romantic move, her husband showed up, and he was just a regular American chubby dude with big belly. He's like, "Hi, honey, just checking how you doing," and left. And I was like, "You gotta be kidding me! Your poor wife working here, helping us with this move, late night move. We finished like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you just came to say hello and left." Oh boy, yeah, but we had some good. Said that's a hard work, and that's another interesting situation about being an immigrant. I would never discover that I had some skills that I have. Like I never could imagine doing moving, and then I discovered I'm really good at it. Like I had people was really impressed how I could pack the truck like a Tetris. I like I got really good at it. It's like, oh, of course it helps that you're tall because you can pack stuff up. But yeah, I could pack a truck like a I don't want to use bad words. I've been showing off. Hey, we got a comment from Canadian woman. Try reading Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. It's better than Atlas Shrugged. By the way, she had to accept Social Security benefits towards the end of her life. Yeah, I've saw that comment a lot. I think I have her. Yeah, The Fountainhead right here. I do have it. As I said, it was so long project, and I might need to reread it. But yeah, it was. As I said, it was a little bit on the romantic side of capitalism. I was like, yeah, it's a little, yeah, kind of naive, but I don't know if she paid anything into Social Security. But I found her history interesting because she's originally a Jewish lady from Russia, and then she had to run away. She's barely escaped Soviet Union. So, but yeah, I'll try to give it a try. Like my next project, I have so many books I need to read, but yeah, I'll work through the Dancing Bears, and then I got a couple of other ones. So yeah, there's a. Then I need to finish reviewing the Black and Red. Okay, I don't drink beer. Okay, all right. So okay, guys, I started losing my voice. I want to say thank you so much. Okay, another good question. Speaking of Gulag, have you read Varlam Shalamov? So you all know about Solzhenitsyn, right? Yeah. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, it's the one who wrote Archipelago Gulag. There's another author called Varlam Shalamov, and he also spent time in Gulag labor camp, survived, and he wrote good stories. They are in Russian, available on the YouTube. I listen to the stories. So I didn't read the books per se, but I listened to the stories, and it's like one day in life of Ivan Denisovich is really interconnect good with Varlamov stories, but it's pretty scary. Scary. It's a good stuff. So okay, well, I'll be wrapping up. Thank you so much for joining. We got over 100 likes and 100 people watching. I want to apologize once again. I said unplanned. I was planning to do it, but we had to babysit. Hey, by the way, while we're here, I want to show you. So those slides that I told you about. So this is how it looks. This is kind of boxes that Uncle Bill left behind. And he was using, I guess it's self-made, because I thought originally like a professional made boxes, but this is a oh, that wasn't smart. So anyway, so this is USSR 4, and he added comments, tells you which slides are which. So the guy was really detail oriented, got comments on everything. So some people requested more videos on this topic. So this is what I'll be doing next. Shoot. And yeah, it's your classic Kodak. And it's interesting, in one of his slides, I found some Soviet slides. So he bought some local slides and inserted in his presentation. And I was sad because Soviet slides got discolored so bad and Kodak is still pristine. I was very impressed. So I was like, wow, quality wise, Kodak smoked the Russian slide film or blew it out of the water. I think that's the expression. Shoot. I think I messed it up now, so by numbers, but this is the ones I was scanning. So anyways, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. I appreciate you spending some time with me. My next video I'll probably be making about Soviet education, about my college days. So it's my next project. And then I'm trying to get brave and make a video, and it's probably going to be a long project, is about the rise of nationalism in Ukraine. Because when in the end of 80s, there was definitely this new trend of Ukrainian nationalism rise, and I want to discuss it and tell you my experience. And I want to thank Anthony for his donation. Thanks for your content. Love the Ushanka show. So, and that topic is really touchy, maybe, especially considering how much Russian propaganda. I mean, they spend millions of dollars to convince the world that Ukrainians just a bunch of Nazis. So of course I cannot compete with. Actually, Prigozhin was a guy running that troll farm for a long time. I'm not sure. I think that they're still gonna be in business, but as I said, it's I'll do my side of the story, but of course I cannot compete in. So this topic of nationalism is quite interesting because if you look at the Soviet Union policies, they encouraged nationalist movements all over the world, but their own country. So they always call them национально-освободительное движение, so national freedom movement in Africa, Asia. But if it's a nationalist movement in Soviet Union, it's a bourgeoisный nationalism, so it's a bourgeois nationalism, bad. So if the national movement in Algeria or Mozambique, it's good. It's a nationalist movement in Ukraine, it's bad. So this is kind of interesting how they managed to keep their one butt on these two chairs, jumping between a nationalist good, nationalist bad. So I'm planning to talk about it. And we have another donation. You guys that don't let me go. Kim, thank you so much for your support. Appreciate donation. Thank you. So this is my next project. So I'll start working on my college story. and on this nationalist topic. And there's so many more, but as I said, we're working it. We still got plenty to do before we hit 100,000 subscribers. So thank you so much again for spending some time with me, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.